General Hospital spoilers for Friday, April 25th tease that the confrontation between Brooklyn and Lulu is becoming one of the most explosive events in Port Charles, as both are caught in a whirlwind of interests, family secrets, and long-suppressed emotions surrounding the true identity of Gio. The tension between Brooklyn and Lulu has never really disappeared, but what is happening now has gone far beyond the usual personal clashes. This is no longer about two women arguing over past conflicts, but a battle involving the future, power, and a truth that could change everything. What lies ahead is a huge shock that no one could have foreseen, and it all starts with the name Gio. Brooklyn has always been uncompromising, especially when it comes to what she considers hers, whether it's love, her role in the Quartermain family, or the right to protect her loved ones. In her eyes, Gio is not just a young man with musical talent, but also a part of everything she has worked to protect, a symbol of the good things she wants to preserve after all the turmoil. But everything starts to change when Lulu, after a long period of absence, returns and suddenly appears with a series of crucial pieces of information about Joe's true identity, something Brooklyn had tried to hide or was afraid to face. Lulu is no longer the woman left behind, no longer the insignificant figure in Port Charles's stories. She returns with a clear goal, to uncover the truth that she believes has been distorted, deliberately hidden. And as that truth gradually comes to light, that Gio might be Dante and Brooklyn's son, that the past was edited to protect the reputation or power of some, Lulu becomes the inevitable opponent, not only against Brooklyn but against the system that has chosen to stay silent all this time. With her integrity and spirit always ready to stand for what's right, Lulu refuses to let Gio be caught in a web of lies just to protect some people's reputations. She wants the truth to be revealed, no matter the price. The explosion begins when Brooklyn discovers that Lulu has been quietly investigating, reaching out to people involved in the childbirth records in San Francisco, reviewing hospital records, and talking to old acquaintances of Camilla, the woman Brooklyn once claimed was Joe's mother. These actions not only make Brooklyn feel threatened but also awaken a deep fear in her, that everything she had tried to hide to protect her family, to protect herself, is about to collapse at Lulu's hands. From there, the battle between the two women has no turning back. Brooklyn can no longer maintain her patience. Words now become sharp weapons. Every encounter between them is heavy with hostility. Lulu no longer avoids. She stands before Brooklyn with the calmness of someone who is ready to face the truth. The confrontation between them is not impulsive, it is the culmination of a series of repressed emotions, resentment, jealousy, hurt, and the pain of witnessing someone she loves being deceived. For Lulu, learning that Gio could be Dante and Brooklyn's son not only shocks her but also places a giant question mark over everything she once trusted about her relationship with the man she once loved deeply. For Brooklyn, Lulu knowing too much, too quickly, is a serious threat to the stability of not only her family but also her connection with Gio, the person she has tried to protect from the truth. But now, as the truth is about to be revealed, Brooklyn is pushed into defense and risks losing everything. The new shift in their relationship is no longer about who is right or wrong, but about who will control the narrative when it is exposed to the public. Both Lulu and Brooklyn are not the type to easily back down. But when the truth about Gio is confirmed, when the identity, bloodline, and all the secrets behind it are officially recognized, this confrontation will no longer be just a battle between two women, but will become a seismic event that will overturn the entire power and emotional structure in Port Charles. And when the dust settles, no one will remain untouched. Not Gio. Not Lulu. Not Brooklyn. And certainly, not the Quartermain family. Carly has just been updated on Sonny's health and immediately feels her heart skip a beat. What initially seemed like a minor issue, a routine medical checkup, has now turned into a real crisis. Sonny is preparing to undergo a risky surgery, and no one can say for sure what will happen on the operating table. For Carly, this is not just the worry of a friend or someone who once loved him. It is an obsession rising with all the memories, fears, and old wounds that seem to have healed. She knows Sonny is not the type of man who easily lies down in a hospital bed. If he has agreed to surgery, it means the situation is so serious that it cannot be postponed. And if Sonny, who has survived countless attempts on his life, power struggles, and immeasurable losses, is willing to take the risk of surgery, It signals a huge shift in the power dynamics of Port Charles. Carly doesn't need a doctor or expert to tell her the danger level. She feels it from the way Sonny is silent, from the way his hand grips hers longer than usual, from the way his eyes have lost the sharpness of a mob boss, replaced by the quiet worry of a father, a man trying to hold on to something for the ones he loves. But what makes Carly even more uneasy is not just the medical risk. It's the changes she's sensing around Sonny, the subtle but dangerous adjustments being made. Visitors to him are no longer the trusted old allies but new faces, people who were once not present in Sonny's life, now quietly appearing as though they've always been there. Decisions about logistics, assets, and control are all being rearranged quietly, and Carly, with the keen intuition of someone who has been by Sonny's side for years, knows something is very wrong. Sonny may be persuaded, or pressured, into placing his trust in people who are not truly loyal. She also sees how his medical records, the post-op plans, are being handled differently. Information is being kept secret, comings and goings are being controlled, and even the surgeon is a stranger with a clean past so suspicious it's almost alarming. All of this paints a troubling picture, and Carly cannot help but ask, who is manipulating what, and why? She is not one to doubt without reason, but what's happening now makes her feel a huge shock is waiting around the corner. Something that could completely change who Sonny is, or worse, completely erase everything he once was. Carly has never feared the day Sonny might die. She's too familiar with him escaping death, too familiar with being near danger. But this time is different. This time, she is not just afraid that he might not survive the surgery. She's afraid that the person who comes out of that operating room will not be the Sonny she once knew. She's afraid that an invisible hand, Brennan, or someone even more dangerous, is creating a fake world around Sonny, a world where memories, power, identity, and even her bond with him will be erased piece by piece, only to be replaced with a version that can be manipulated, exploited, and turned into a pawn in some underground plan. And this obsession is what is driving Carly to act. She's not just the mother, the friend, or the ex-wife of Sonny. She's the last person who still has the clarity to see the bigger picture, the only one brave enough to ask the questions while everyone else around her just follows blindly. And if this shock truly is part of a larger plan, Carly knows she has to act before it's too late, before not only Sonny but all of Port Charles ceases to be what it once was. Jason is becoming a major obstacle in Willow's journey as she tries to pursue her wish to go to Germany, a place where she hopes to reconnect with Michael or at least find the answers to the things that have haunted her for so long. After all the hurt and inner turmoil, Willow has finally become strong enough to choose her own path, and the trip to Germany is not just a physical journey but a psychological step towards liberation and finding herself again. However, while everything seems to be falling into place, Jason, the one she trusted most, begins to put up pressure-filled barriers. Jason doesn't oppose Willow directly, but his silence and the way he handles the situation are sending a clear message. He doesn't fully support this trip. Willow can feel it in every look, every pause between conversations, and the hesitation in his voice whenever she mentions Germany. Jason can't, or doesn't want to, say the real reason, but she understands that behind this obstruction lies a series of calculations he is silently making, a much larger strategy than just a personal journey. Jason has always prioritized the safety of his loved ones, and this time is no different. He knows that Willow leaving, especially to somewhere as far as Germany, means she might be out of his control, outside the fragile protection that is slowly being eroded in Port Charles. He suspects that Willow's trip to find Michael is not only about love or healing, but could be manipulated by underground forces, those waiting for her to stray so they can strike. In Jason's mind, every move needs to be monitored, every plan has to be in the script, and Willow breaking that orbit could cause the fragile structure around her and Michael to collapse. That is why one of the major adjustments happening right now is the change in Jason's approach to Willow. In the past, he quietly supported her, without conditions, always being a solid shoulder. But now, as the risks become clearer, from forces manipulating Drew, to underground conflicts within WSB, and even Brennan's return, Jason is forced to become the one who sets boundaries, to stop rather than accompany. And this is creating an invisible rift between him and Willow, a feeling of suffocation in her own freedom, causing trust to begin to waver even though they had never had a public conflict. Willow feels that Jason no longer sees her as a woman who has the right to decide her own fate, but as a pawn that needs to be placed correctly on a chessboard she can't fully see. She yearns to go, to live, to experience and confront the emotions she has buried since Michael left, but Jason only sees the risks, failures, and the potential loss of control. The adjustments in Jason's behavior not only affect Willow but also reflect a significant change in his mindset and role, from a quiet protector to a supervisor of power. And this is opening up one of the new shocks Willow didn't expect. The one person she thought would always support her is now the one standing between her and the only path she believes remains. Jason is not betraying her. But he is placing calculations and strategies over personal emotions and desires, a choice that he himself is struggling with the consequences of. In Jason's heart, perhaps he still believes he is doing the right thing. But in Willow's heart, it's a loss, not of Michael, but of the friend who once held her hand through the darkest days. As Jason continues to act with caution and terrifying determination, Willow must decide, will she step back and accept a destiny written by others, or break free from all restraints to walk the path no one has paved for her? And when that answer is given, all of Jason's calculations may have to pay the price, with the very relationship he thought was unshakable. Nina is showing that she is no longer the fragile, passive woman watching everything collapse around her. No, Nina is now ready to plunge into the darkest realm of power and manipulation, where truth can be distorted, reputations can be bought, and all moral boundaries can be broken just to achieve her goal. She no longer hesitates to play dirty, especially when her target is Drew, the one she believes is standing in her way of gaining the power, prestige, and stability she has worked so hard to build. Nina doesn't want to wait or ask permission anymore. She wants control, wants to destroy, and she wants to do it now. Drew was not initially in Nina's sights. But since he became closer to Carly, since he started having a say in important decisions at Crimson, Aurora Media, and even in influential social relationships, Nina feels that everything is starting to tilt away from the path she had set. And when someone like Nina feels out of control, she doesn't choose dialogue. She chooses to retaliate. She has spent time gathering information, tracking movements, even exploiting old industry relationships to find Drew's weaknesses. But when all the normal paths didn't lead to the desired outcome, Nina began to consider a more extreme solution, creating fake evidence. A fabricated crime, a shady transaction, a fake conversation, as long as it's sophisticated enough and timed correctly, it could isolate Drew, erode Carly's trust in him, cast suspicion on him legally, and legally push him out of the game without anyone tracing it back to her. But this action is not just a simple tactic. It's the clearest manifestation of the obsession building in Nina's mind. She can no longer distinguish between fighting for what's right and personal hatred. To her, Drew is no longer a person, he is a symbol of everything she has lost: respect, Sonny's love, trust from her loved ones, and the ability to control her own life. And in Nina's mind, only when Drew is destroyed will she feel liberated, or at least restore balance to the power scale. However, what she's doing is far from safe. Creating fake evidence is not just illegal, it's a double-edged sword, and Nina is holding it with both trembling hands. Because once the truth is exposed, once someone discovers what's really going on, maybe Jason, Carly, or even Drew, everything she has worked to reclaim will collapse in an instant. No more Crimson. No more Sonny. No more chance to redeem herself with Willow. Everything will be swept away by a tidal wave that she created. This new calculation, no matter how sophisticated, cannot hide one painful truth: Nina is losing herself. She is no longer the woman who longed to be loved, to be acknowledged. She has turned into someone willing to destroy everything, even the people she once cared about, just to serve a goal distorted by hatred. And that is what's pushing everything further, no longer just personal but a chain of troubles that could bring down not only Drew but also the web of people involved: Carly, Sonny, Willow, and even Nina herself. If she continues down this path, Nina might achieve a temporary victory. But the price to pay is her very soul. And by the time she realizes it, everything may have already gone too far to turn back. Christina is in a state of confusion and panic like never before as she unexpectedly receives shocking information related to the underground adjustments being made around her, the troubles that up until this moment, she has not been able to fully comprehend. But what's truly terrifying is not just the ambiguity of the reality but who is behind these calculations, and that name is Ava. The relationship between Christina and Ava has never been smooth, but this time, everything has gone far beyond the usual tension. When Christina finds out that Ava is ready to launch a direct attack, not just on her reputation but also targeting her psychology, all the safety boundaries in Christina's world completely collapse. This attack doesn't come in loud words or outbursts. It's a silent arrangement, step by step, in Ava's style, cold, clever, and ruthless. Christina feels herself being pushed into a battle she wasn't prepared for, a battle where the enemy doesn't need to say anything, just let the chaotic events unfold in the planned order. Ava is launching covert blows, from manipulating information, bringing up Christina's uncomfortable past, to using old relationships to isolate her within the very community she once thought was her family. And Christina, who has fought so hard to find herself, now has to face the feeling of being watched, controlled, and worse, being pushed to the brink of losing control. The obsession begins to creep in, not just from the outside but from within Christina. She starts doubting everyone, every intention around her. She doesn't know who is her friend, who is secretly betraying her. Every word from Ava, no matter how soft, feels like a sharp knife hidden in velvet, making Christina angry, scared, and unable to react immediately. And in this suffocating atmosphere, the dark thoughts in Christina's mind begin to surface. At first, it was just simple questions. Am I being deceived? Then more dangerous doubts. If I disappear, will anyone care? And from there, negative thoughts gradually erupt, no longer self-defense but an attack. Christina begins to envision scenarios of retaliation, ways to turn the tables, even actions that could make Ava pay in the most literal sense. And the scariest part is, this is no longer the weak Christina, shedding tears. It is a Christina stepping into her dark side with cold, determined emotions that may very well be out of control. The new change isn't just about the relationship between Christina and Ava, but it's happening inside Christina herself, a transformation from harm to retaliation, from defense to actively causing harm. Ava may have sparked it, but now Christina is faced with the choice to become the manipulator herself, and if no one intervenes, Port Charles could witness a very different Christina, more dangerous, colder, and willing to do anything to never be pushed down again. This confrontation is not just an underground battle. It's the beginning of a chain of dark events, where obsession becomes strength, and resistance no longer has moral boundaries. And when it truly erupts, the consequences will not just be one person losing, but a city shaken by the very silence of unspoken rage.